everyone, this is Jillian from Jewish Workshops. It is a pleasure to be joining all of you today, and we are extremely privileged to have Chana Radcliffe on the line. Before we get started, I'd love to see who's joining us and where you're from. So if you could go to your question box on the right-hand side of the screen and type your first name and where you're joining us from, I would love to be able to welcome you. I'd also like to give a real big shout out to all of our Family Circle members. So feel free to put a little star next to your name or write Family Circle so I can welcome you as well. And if this is your very first time joining us on a webinar, welcome. And I just want to give you a little bit of a tutorial for one quick minute. The right-hand side of your screen, you should see a little GoToWebinar control panel, and there's a question box in there or a chat box. You can write in your name right now, and I'll go ahead and welcome you, but you can also put questions in there throughout today's program so that we can go ahead and answer as many as possible live on the line. You'll also see next to your name that it says that you're muted. That doesn't mean that you can't hear us. You should be able to hear, and you'll see Chana in a few minutes, but we just can't hear the audience, so there's no background noise. So let me go ahead. I can see people are writing in. Welcome, Shelly from Montreal, Gabby from New York City. Welcome, Tracy from Ottawa, Liat from Toronto, Sonia from New York, Leah from Rehovot. Welcome, EG from New Jersey, Johanna from England. Welcome, Esther from Passaic, Sarah from Muncie, Chana from Israel, Emmanuel from the old city of Jerusalem. Welcome, Miriam from Montreal and Chana from Chicago, Ariella from Ohio, Rifki from Jerusalem, Elaine from New York, Nadia from New York. Welcome, Jessica from Evanston, Illinois. Welcome, Chava from Kenya, Esty from Amsterdam, Rifki from Baltimore. Welcome, Aliza from Phoenix, Corinne from Israel. Welcome, Karen. Welcome, Shoshana from Austria. Welcome, Amy from Colorado. This is absolutely amazing to see people joining from all over the world. Welcome, Tamar from England and Dina from Miami Beach. Welcome, Malka from Staten Island. As people continue to pour in, welcome, welcome to all. It is great to see so many people coming from all over. It's absolutely incredible to see how many people are actually joining us. And with over 1,500 people signed up, we are likely to hit capacity. So please stay on the line until the very end. We don't want you to leave and then get locked out. Over the past 6 years, Chana has brought her expertise in parenting and relationships to our Jewish Workshops community. And today, Chana is going to introduce us to a brand new, highly requested topic that prompted over 1,500 parents to sign up for the introductory class. We are going to begin an exploration into cultivating your child's confidence, the essential quality for a quality life. Make sure to stay on until the very end, and you'll get to hear about this one-time chance to join Chana week after week for a full live program at a special discounted rate just for attending today. Plus, we'll get to as many questions, as I mentioned, live on the line. So please make sure to feel free to write in questions throughout today's class, and we'll get to a Q&A session afterwards. It is truly an honor to be hosting Chana Radcliffe today. A registered member of the College of Psychologists of Ontario, Chana Radcliffe has been practicing marriage, parenting, and individual counseling for over 40 years. Chana is a well-sought-after lecturer on stress management, parenting, anger management, and emotional well-being. She's the author of Raise Your Kids Without Raising Your Voice, The Fear Fix, Make Yourself at Home, and 5 other books on family life and emotional well-being. Chana, we are so grateful that you're joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and pass the microphone over to you. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited about this topic.
Oh, good.
Should I just dive in right now?
Yes, thank you so much.
All right. So everyone, we're talking about confidence, and we kind of all know what it means to have confidence, to lack confidence, because we've all had our moments. And we know that those moments are so painful that they're unwanted, and we don't want them for our children. We want to reduce them as much as possible. But of course, our children will have their moments too. And we want to help them negotiate those moments, get them over more quickly maybe than we did, and live a life that is mostly free of them as much as humanly possible. Okay, now, as I always start off any parenting talk, we have to realize that each child's different. Some children are born with confidence. You may have a few children of your own that are just they were confident from infancy. And then we have other ones who, even though we may have been doing just amazing parenting, can't fault us at all, but the child lacks confidence, because confidence is somewhat a genetic quality inherited. The tendency to feel that feeling is an inherited tendency to start off with. But like all tendencies, we're going to build on whatever the child has. So if the child has a low confidence streak, we're going to try and boost that kid up to as much as that child can be. And if he was born just super confident, well, we just don't want to mess him up. So we'll look at what we could do to like lower people's confidence as well. And as we're talking about this topic today and all through the course that will follow, we're going to look at our own confidence as well, because growing in confidence means growing in well-being, growing in health, growing in happiness, and like we said in the intro there, growing in a quality life. Having quality of life means, being your full self, and that requires confidence. So I did say we all know a little bit about this because we'll use the word, I feel confident, I lack confidence, but I want to pin it down more, because you're going to see as we're talking today that confidence, is it the same as anxiety? We're going to explore that a little bit. Is insecurity a form of anxiety, or is it a form of low self-esteem, or is it a lack of confidence? Well, we kind of use all these words a little bit interchangeably, so we're going to bring out some definitions. So here's a definition I want to start with, and I will use throughout. Confidence is a belief that I've got this, I can do this, or I can survive this. A belief is a cognitive, mental, thinking kind of thing that we do. It's a thought that we have. A thought that we have so strongly becomes a belief that we have. And that belief generates feelings. Okay, so in our heart, then, what we think can affect what we feel. So if we do feel confident, then we feel calm and we feel our full power. We feel strong. Okay, so those are the emotions that would accompany our deep-seated belief that I've got this. Okay, I can do it. I can cope with it. I can manage it. I can succeed with it, or I can handle the failure of it. We're going to look at all of these variations of confidence. It's such a good feeling. Okay, tell you the other feeling. Well, the other feeling is the opposite, right? I can't cope with it. I can't do it. I can't succeed in it. I'm not going to be good at it. I'm going to be rejected. That kind of belief system generates anxiety. Okay, so it generates those anxious feelings now of worry, of fear, of discomfort, sometimes of panic. Okay, so you can see how the feelings come from the belief. And, I said before that some of us are kind of born leaning towards that belief. And most of us are in the middle with that belief. And then some of us, like, what? They've never heard of that belief, practically ever. But, when we're learning something new, we're always going to be slightly not confident at first, except we may be confident in our ability to learn it. Okay, so we'll see. Confidence is such a wonderful feeling. We want to have more of it ourselves, and we want to have our children have plenty of it. And it applies to every realm of life. So for children and adults, it's going to apply to the academics, to the school environment, to the social and interpersonal world. We may have confidence in one area and lack confidence in another area. It's not like across the board. It could be relating to any area of thought, like I can figure this out, or speech, like I know what to say and when to say it and how to say it, or action, I know what to do and I can do it. Okay, that's the feeling of confidence in anything, any physical endeavor, in baking my cake, in cleaning my house when I'm an adult, right? In making friends when I'm a kid, in doing my homework, in making my bed, or, picking out my clothing. Anything can be an area in which we can feel confident or we can feel a lack of confidence. So it's so big It covers our entire existence. Okay. How about you just put in your chat box the area in which you've struggled most in confidence in your life? Just think about it for a second. And let's just hear, because you're from all around the world. Okay. I bet you it's more common than not. And what we're going to hear there is if you would write in the chat box, which realm of life has been most challenging for you personally in your area of confidence? And it could be the way you look, the way you act, how you perform, anything. Just think about it, and let's have Jillian give us a little readout when we start getting. Now, I just want to say while you're writing this, that confidence, you'll see in the title of this, How to Raise Confident and Resilient Children. Well, why does confidence and resilience go together? It's because that feeling of, I can do it, I can cope with it, I can try again, I can handle failure, I can recover, I can move on. You can see that kind of confidence actually translates into resilience, because for every human being, there will be setbacks. We're going to try something, it's not going to work. Can we guarantee that everything we try in life is going to succeed? Neither we nor our children are going to succeed every time. We're going to have failure experiences. We will be rejected, because as lovable as we are and as our kids are, there's just some people who won't appreciate us for some reason, and in our interpersonal interactions, again, with adults and children, it could be with our spouse, with children, with their siblings, with their cousins, with their friends on the block. There will be people who just don't warm up to them and who make them know it. Okay. So we're going to have experiences of rejection, all of us. And our ability to still like ourselves, to feel good about ourselves, to enjoy our lives comes from this confidence that lends resilience. Jillian, did anybody answer the question about what their big challenge?
We had a lot of answers.
Okay,
work presentations, parenting, friendships, public speaking, making decisions, social situations, losing weight, job interviews, speaking up in a group, when I should put my foot down with saying no to my kids, work, the way I look, how I parent my children, my parenting abilities, the way I communicate. I struggle with confidence as a mother, making decisions, self-discipline, speaking a second language, standing up for myself, responding to injustice, my cooking skills, speaking to a group, keeping a neat home without much cleaning help.
Right. Like, all of these, I just want to say that, these actually are the topics that you'll see I've mentioned a lot of them in the course that we're going to do today, and have a lot of them planned for our future as well on this topic, because these are the normal things that we lack confidence in. And yet they're pretty major to our lives. Let's say I'm a parent and I lack confidence in my parenting. Well, every day I'm a parent. How is it going to feel to lack confidence all day, every day? This is not the way we want to live. Okay. And the very good news is that we don't have to live this way. So, we're not necessarily going to get all the answers today about how to do that, but I'm going to be pretty confident in promising you that we will get the answers to that, because I know there's answers to that. I think I said in one of my little video clips, I suffered myself from a lack of confidence for a long time in my life. And that's why this topic is near and dear to me, because I don't like that. I didn't like it then. I hate it now. But fortunately, my career has enabled me to learn so many really practical and powerful techniques for gaining confidence and living a full fear-free life, let's call it, okay? Because confidence and fear are related. Lack of confidence generates an anxiety and insecurity that is not good for us. And I just want to finish my thought on the resilience that I was saying before, that the lack of confidence erodes our ability to cope with difficult experiences in life, to bounce back, to get back on the horse, to try again, which is something that we need to do if we're ever going to succeed. We can't go like, oh, I didn't bake the cake, forget baking cakes, I'm not going to do that anymore. Or you can see it in your children. They're trying to figure out the difficult math problem and they can't do it, and so they're struggling away there, and they give up. Okay, I can't do this. And they tear up the paper and throw it away. Well, how are they going to gain confidence if they give up? So we need to have tools to help them persevere. Failing and not doing well. I gave up. I didn't hand in the paper. I got a 0 on it. I failed math again. This just proves my point that I can't do it. And it becomes a cycle of eroding confidence and eroding resilience around and around and around. The less I stay on that horse, okay, the more I prove that I'm incapable. And then I can't do it anymore. Then I'm weakened in terms of trying yet again. So yeah, we can't have these things. I can't cope. It's too overwhelming. It's too much. As an adult, that's really going to get in the way of our success because it's going to cause us not to try. So, and then if we tried, it didn't work out. See, I knew it. I was never able to do this. It's just not for me. And, the self-perpetuating cycle of getting nowhere and feeling bad. Okay. We're not succeeding and we're feeling awful. So I don't like that. Now in childhood, confidence manifests in a lot of different ways. A little kid who doesn't have the confidence to socialize with cousins or friends on the block or strangers is going to cling on to mommy's skirt. Or a preschooler who doesn't have confidence may try to build with the little Lego blocks or whatever. It didn't work out and then gives up. Okay, this giving up thing is both a product of a lack of confidence and creates more lack of confidence. School-age kids, maybe they're not going to raise their hand in class, maybe they're not going to participate, they're not going to interact with their peers because they don't know what to say, they don't know how to say it. Or they may feel overshadowed by a sibling at home. And there's maybe, bigger siblings or more aggressive siblings who kind of steal the show, and a child who is like just following that sibling around because that child doesn't have the confidence to be his or her own person. And the child gets swallowed up in the developmental process. Teens who lack confidence, they may just be slow on the development thing. They're, not going to push themselves forward into their social groups. They may remain on the outside of things, feeling lonely, rejected, and insecure, which is awful. Or they're afraid to do things, and they're, later teens or early 20s even, that would be developmentally good for them, like learn to drive, if they lack confidence in their ability to negotiate that stress, apply for a job, apply for, postgraduate education, after high school, and write their own essay. Mommy, would you write the essay for me? Like, if you're not confident, you don't believe in yourself, and then you may not develop yourself as a result of that. Can you just check in the chat box and tell me, how do you think lack of confidence has held you back? Okay, this is a little bit more complex a question. You've named what you didn't feel good about, but now what was the result of that? How did that confidence hold you back in life? Okay, can you, put your thoughts to that and share them with us? And, for most of us, the feelings that accompany lack of confidence, the feelings that we're going to feel and our kids are going to feel, and kind of the thought feeling package as well, the cognitive and emotional together blend to make us feel insecure. Insecure is kind of an anxious feeling. Inadequate is more of a cognitive and emotional assessment of myself. I'm just not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not capable enough. Incompetent, unliked or rejected, unaccepted. These are all the resultant thought feeling packages of lacking confidence. Jillian, did anybody share with us how lack of confidence has held them back?
Yes, definitely. We've got missed opportunities, not trying new things, pursuing my dreams, didn't go for a promotion, avoiding friendships, didn't present myself as I truly am.
These are big ways that we get held back. And think that this starts young. Your kids are already developing the avoidance skills. that help reduce the pain of lack of confidence. And then we continue with that as we're growing up. And so, yeah, we don't go for that, extra course or that extra promotion or that opportunity, social, academic, professional, whatever it is. We don't even try. So we miss a lot of things. Yeah. It's like we have an inner critic working overtime. That's kind of mattering. You can't do it. Okay. You'll never succeed. Give up before you try. Stay away. Don't even go there. Okay. That voice that is trying to help really, is wrecking it for us, because if we don't keep trying, we will not experience success. So, and also how painful to walk around with your inner voice like that. It's like walking around with an abusive parent who's standing over you, just saying, you're no good, you're not doing it right, you'll never do it right, you don't look the right way, you don't act the right way, you don't say the right things, just like never leaving that parent's side. Sometimes a parent has actually instilled a voice like that, and we don't want that to be us. So we're going to look at, what it is that we're saying that might be accidentally leaning, like leading the child's brain to develop that way, because our voice actually becomes the child's inner voice to a certain extent. So, because the child's brain is like wet cement, and whatever we say leaves deep footprints in that cement, that kind of like, then the cement dries and it's with them for a lifetime, unless, as I've said before and elsewhere, you take a sonic boom drill and crack that thing open in deep therapy and, reprogram everything. It takes a lot of money and a lot of work, a lot of effort. It's better if we lay it down correctly. Now, don't worry if you've already messed up your kids' brains, because your children are very open to you. So even though the cement is wettest when they're most young, and it starts to just get damp and then dries off by the time they're older, children always have a wet spot for their parents, because the parent-child bond is just very special. Okay, this is the way that Hashem made it, that its parents have an inroad like nobody else to their child's brain. It's never too late. The things you say, even if your child is 40 years old, will make a difference now. So we can be hopeful here that we can have a good impact, even if we've made a few mistakes along the way. So we and they, our children, fall further behind, and we just don't get anywhere. And then a real lack of confidence permeates our entire being, right? So in the end, we're not giving good eye contact to people. We're not standing up straight to take up space in the universe to say, I am here. Okay, that takes a lot of confidence right there, to take your full space and own it, So we have our little rounded shoulders and our head is down, and we're trying to hide all the time. And we see our kids doing that too. It's kind of a sad posture that tells other people, don't come too close, okay? Because I'm scared of you. And they'll respect that. You won't be drawing a crowd if you're not standing up. We may have that inner critic with that negative judgment that's really harassing us and hurting our feelings. And we're into avoidance of the stressful or challenging situations, not all of which we'll be able to avoid. We have increased vulnerability from those that we can't avoid, because we're facing this catastrophe or this disaster, or this failure, or this life challenge sent by God. And we just collapse in the face of it. There are people who, after certain kinds of traumas, they just don't recover. Okay. And resiliency means, yeah, that was bad times, but upward and onward, we can do it. We can recover. So, not all of the terrible things that happen in a person's life, well, none of them really are in our hands, because we don't choose those terrible things. They're put upon us for our little spiritual development and our, where we have to deal with it. But we need confidence. Okay. Now we want to be able to be like a warrior, to face life with courage, to like ourselves and accept ourselves, even when we're flailing and failing and losing out, even when we've got deficiencies. We want to feel like, okay, that's all right. And that's just the best feeling in the world. Okay. Yeah, I'm not so good at this, I can't do this or that, but I'm fine with that. that's a real mark of confidence as well, because we're going to have to accept um, our failures, our weaknesses, our flaws, our imperfections, because we have them. And when we're a perfectionist, we won't be able to have confidence because we're never good enough. It has to be perfect. I have to work so much harder than everybody else just to get a right to exist. This is exhausting, okay? Very difficult on us and our kids. So we go like, yeah, messy house. That's not my thing, okay? And we'll go into this a bit more as we go along. Now, I don't want to scare you, but the first thing I'm going to look at is how we parents accidentally erode confidence. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I just want to bring it to your awareness briefly with a couple of antidote examples. So we're going to move right into what we can do to build confidence, all right? But confidence in a child is going to come from a lot of different areas. You're not going to be able to hand your child confidence, nor will you be able to rob your child of all confidence. Okay, so a certain amount of it is in the child's genes, right? Another proportion of it is coming from many places outside of you, from school experiences, from peer experiences, from sibling experiences, from the other parent. You're not the whole show. Now, you're only going to try to impact with your part of it, okay? What you can do and what you want to refrain from doing in order to have the best influence. We're always praying very hard that, you know, our children move forward in life with the best feelings, the best start, and we're consciously trying to do the best we can do. So here's one thing we want to refrain from doing. Whoops, almost knocked my whole tea over there. Okay. We want to refrain from over disciplining, over educating, over correcting, and over criticizing. That is, we want to refrain from a lot of parental negativity that comes in the guise of education or, you know, teaching. I'm going to say it's in the guise because criticizing, correcting, lecturing, preaching, that doesn't really provide education. We think we're providing it. Okay, so let's have a little example here. There's a kid, he goes to the library after school, he comes home, he realizes, well, he's knocking on the door because he lost his key. He left it on the shelf in the library. Okay, so his parent just responds. Okay, the parent has not yet attended this class. The parent says, "You left your key on the shelf? Why would you leave your key on the shelf? What do you mean you were holding it in your hand? Like, why don't you just keep it in your pocket where it belongs? Like, what were you thinking? Now it's going to cost us $1 million to change all the locks in the house. Like, somebody could have taken that key." And right, so the parent is simply emoting his or her frustration. The parent doesn't mean to say, "You loser," okay? "You Dumbo." Unless the parent has real problems of his or her own. She doesn't have to say that. She won't say that. She'll just say, "What were you thinking?" Which means, "What's wrong with you?" Okay? Like, "Where's your brains?" That's what it means, even if she doesn't add those phrases. And that's how the child takes it. You know, the child doesn't necessarily even put that into words at that time in his or her own little head. But the child concludes and forms this wordless conclusion. But because a parent who responds like that is not going to respond like that just once in the child's childhood. The parent who responds like that is constantly responding like that, conveying surely over time, "You can't figure things out, okay? You're missing brains, okay? There's something wrong with you. You are deficient. You do things wrong." So the child is going to feel shame and inadequacy, and the child's going to lose trust in his ability to be smart and competent, even though the parent didn't say straight out, "You're dumb and incompetent." You know, when we get this, like, "What were you thinking?" Okay, kind of thing. That's what we are conveying. So by making a child aware, very aware of his mistakes and poor decisions and bad judgments, we're trying to help. but we're actually eroding confidence. And that is going to not help in the long run. That's going to make the child freeze when it comes to applying his intellect the way he should. So here's another example of parental instruction. The two siblings are playing together, and one is teasing the other, and now the teased one is crying, okay? So the parent says to the teaser, you should not have told your brother that his hair looks funny, okay? Do you see, like, look what he's feeling now, right? So this is a normal correction. The parent is not going nuts. The parent is simply giving advice. Or here's another one for the teenager who's doing his laundry or her laundry. Mom, the kid says, my shirt turned pink, and you, in your wisdom, in your all-knowingness, say, yeah, of course it turned pink. You can't wash the colors with the whites, okay? In brackets, Dumbo, okay? Again, you didn't say Dumbo. You just implied it. Like, even though this kid has done very few loads of washes before, obviously, does not yet know how to sort the laundry, and therefore made this very natural, young person's mistake or first-time washer's mistake. There's a million things we say like this throughout the day that imply, I know and you don't, okay? Here's what you need to do. Here's what you should do. Don't do it that way. Do it this way. We just blab on like that. And we think that that's our parenting job without realizing that constant intervention of that kind is going to erode confidence in most kids, okay? So we want to use alternative forms of education to this straight out correction. I mean, one that you already know a lot about is like praising the child for doing the right thing, okay? Like, wow, you did a great job with that laundry. Not when it's pink, of course, but, oh, you made your brother feel so good when the kid did that, like highlighting, of course, what the child is doing right, following the 80-20 rule, as you may have followed me in other courses that I've done on conscious parenting here, or dynamic discipline from Jewish workshops that goes over all the big parenting techniques that will surely help build confidence. But here, let's look at when we want the child to correct a behavior that needs to be corrected. So this technique, the first one I want us to look at, is called ask questions, okay? So this replaces telling. Like when we say you shouldn't have told your brother that his hair looks funny, that's called telling. Or you're not supposed to wash the whites with the colors. That is called telling. Okay, and because we do so much telling, we're eventually going to erode confidence. So this technique is ask questions. Set the child up to think something through so the child can be correct, and then you can praise the child's smarts. Okay, for example, the kid says, Mom, my shirt turned pink. And you say, oh, well, what do you think might have turned it pink? And the kid will go, I don't know. I don't know. I just threw everything in the laundry, and the parent says, well, did you throw anything in the laundry that might have made it pink? And the kid says, well, I had my red shirt there. Would that have done it? And then you go, actually, yes, you figured that out. That's brilliant. Of course. That's right. Colors leak. Yeah. So that could have done it. Now the kid feels like a genius because he figured out what made the laundry turn pink, okay? When the child's crying, the one who's teased, and the parent says to the teaser, well, what do you think he's so upset about? Why is he crying right now? Do you know why he's crying right now? And the kid is able to say, because I told him he looks weird, okay? And you go like, yeah, I think that's it. Yes, I think you figured it out. Okay. This might seem like nothing to you, but it's really something when the kid is using his own head to figure it out. When you are using your head to tell him this is wrong and this is wrong and this is wrong, then you're the smart one, he's the dumb one. When he figures out his own solutions or his own understanding of consequences or whatever, he does feel smarter. Okay. So the question technique, instead of telling your kid, oh, honey, use hot water instead of cold water to wash those dishes. You see the kid using cold water and you ask the child, honey, do you know what works even better than cold water to wash the dishes? Now, if your child is already in the habit of saying, I don't know, okay, that I don't know for simple questions already reflects a lack of confidence in the child's own ability to solve problems. We don't want to accept I don't know from a 12-year-old who's washing dishes because she's already turned her brain off. Turn that brain on. Well, think about it for a second, honey. What might work better than cold water for washing dishes? Now, it's a leading question because you've said cold water, okay? The child should immediately associate, the opposite, like, I don't know, hot water. You say, yeah, hot water removes the particles better. Yeah, and the child has figured it out and the child feels like the smart one. Instead of telling a child who gives up quickly, if you give up after one try, you're never going to succeed. Aren't these all like classic parenting things that we all do, So we say to the child, well, honey, how many times do you think you might have to try that before you're going to succeed? Like, is once good enough? What do you think? How many times? I don't know. Get that? I don't know. You said, well, think about it. How many times do you think your brother tried it before he figured it out? So you're asking questions instead of telling. And once the child has given you an answer, exactly, you got it. That's brilliant. Okay. And you're now able to reinforce the child's problem-solving abilities, which will build the child's sense of confidence. Okay. So, we're going to do another parenting technique like that one. But maybe I'll give you one more example and give you a chance to try it out so it can build your confidence in that. On this question instead of tell. Let's say that, let's just think of one, your child is eating with his hands at the table. Now, if any of you have read my little book, Better Behavior Now, there's actually a whole protocol for curing that, which is different. But let's say you wanted to say something to the child rather than, we use cutlery at the table, honey. So what question could we ask there instead? Okay, why don't you just put what you're thinking into the chat box, just so we have a chance to practice the question instead of telling technique, okay? Ask a question instead of telling. So we want to tell him, use your cutlery instead of your hands. Okay, we that's what we want to say, but we're avoiding telling. Even if you successfully cut down telling by half, okay, I'm not saying you're never going to tell your kid anything anymore, but even if you replace even half of your telling statements with questions, you'll be doing your child a tremendous service in confidence building. So let's see if anybody's given any answers yet. Jillian, has anybody come up with a question to ask the child?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Would it make it easier for you to eat with a fork?
Actually, it's a great question, but I bet you that kid says, no, I like to eat with my hands. He's shoveling it in. He's learned how to do that. He's practicing it. It might make it, You have to watch a question like that when the child's doing something. If he's struggling, I like that question. Like if he's struggling with the arithmetic homework or whatever homework, would it make it easier for you to break it down, do you think? Or would it, but even that is a leading question. It's providing the answer. We don't really want to provide the answer. We want the child to explore the answer. So we didn't say to the child, let's say about the dishes, do you think hot water might make it better? We don't want to give the child the answer. We're asking the child to come up with the answer. What would be easier? What would be more efficient than cold water? Why is your brother crying? We're not saying, do you think he's crying because you hurt his feelings? And we don't want to give the answer. So let's try this again so we can adjust it. So we're not giving too much information. We'll see if we can figure it out. We need to practice these things ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is there another way to eat the food so you don't get dirty?
That one it's much more, I think at that one, the child would probably pick up his fork, and then what would the parent say if the child did pick up the fork, right, at that point? So we want to jump right in on the child's problem-solving capacities. There it is. cutlery, amazing, good for you, okay? And so we want to be talking once the child is doing the right thing. Was there one more there, a variation on that?
There's one. Oh, honey, do you have a spoon and a fork?
Again, that one's giving the answer. I like it better than the telling. I like all of these better than telling the child, use your spoon and fork or whatever, or knife and fork. But again, we're going to be cautious not to tell the child the answer. Okay, so you're going to maybe think of these, or if you join us for the follow-up course, you're going to have a lot more opportunity for practice. Because today we're introducing a bunch of techniques, but in the following 8 weeks, we're going to perfect them. So if you really want to get better at this, join us. And here's one more, the no hovering technique. Hovering, over supervising, over advising, over helping our children is going to erode their confidence, because the child feels that you're capable, but she isn't, all right? So the say nothing and do nothing technique leaves more up to the child and gives the child the space to do the experimentation that builds confidence. For example, we're going to just stand back and watch the child go down the wrong road while we're taking heavy tranquilizers or something, because it's very hard for us to do this. It's really hard for us to do this one. But I heard a talk by Rebbitzin Heller once where she said that this is what Hashem does for us. He stands back and lets us mess things up so that we can learn from our life's experience, and that we're supposed to emulate this. Stand back, give your child the space to figure things out and thereby grow in confidence. So, of course, if it's what your child's doing is very dangerous, or has huge consequences, like he's going to go to jail, and he's only 14, so you're going to intervene. But most things that a kid does do not have those kinds of consequences. And those are huge, right? So we don't want him to risk his life or end up, in prison, so we'll intervene. But if he's going to fail a test, I'm sorry, that's not of the same order. And you've got to put on your, boots, and gird your loins, and stand back and do nothing. So let's say a child in grade 9 doesn't study for a test. Instead, he's busy, playing games, staring at the ceiling, talking to friends, whatever it is. And you're watching this knowing that there are consequences. And then, he does poorly on the examination. So the big thing here is for the parent to say and do nothing. That is the technique, all right? This is going to help the child make the connections in his brain that failing to apply oneself leads to a failure in success. You can't succeed that way. Or a child has to fill out an application to apply for some program or some opportunity, some job, whatever it is he's applying to. And he's, delaying and delaying and delaying and avoiding whatever it is. And finally, it's too late. And by the time the kid sends in the application, it's too late. And of course, he doesn't qualify anymore, he's not accepted. The parent says nothing. This is the say nothing and do nothing, also known as the watch the train wreck technique. Very, very hard on our own nerves. And we need a great deal of confidence as parents to be able to say, I know this child can learn from this experience and do better in the future. It is one of the hardest things that parents can do, to stand back and not say, what were you thinking? Okay, what's wrong with you? There was a deadline on this assignment. You have to start early. You can't do this. You can blah, 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 blah. Okay, all of that stuff. We want to so badly, because we want the child to smarten up and to do better in life. But the child has a better chance of smartening up if we just stay out of the child's way and let that kid figure out what went wrong. If you have the courage, you wait till next time the kid has a deadline, and you'll see the child is starting to respect deadlines without you saying anything. If you say something, again, you're the smart one, you're the competent one, and also you're the one whose problem this is, okay? Now, really, it's not your problem, because you fill out applications on time. This is your child's problem, because your child doesn't respect the deadlines. So by you getting involved, it looks like the child's done something to you, whereas the child's actually done something to him or herself. Stay out of it. it's not your problem. The child is losing out. So now there's let's come up with just an example of a non-hovering one. Um, Actually, I'm not going to, because I see we're running out of time. Okay, we're going to have to keep the examples for our future work together. Let's just look at this one. There's another aspect of confidence, and this is something that was alluded to in some of you who wrote in at the beginning. The confidence of feeling comfortable in your own skin, the confidence to be yourself, the extremely good feeling of being you with all of your good points and your medium points and your weak points, okay? So if our children could be confident, even though they think their hair is, too brown or too curly or too straight or too thin or too thick, okay, right? Or they have, even though they have glasses or they have braces or they have some other aspect of their physical being that they don't like. Or they're only a B or C student, they're not an A student, or they don't have a great job, or they're not popular, or they're not good at certain things. Like even in adulthood, we're not, not a great event organizer. In fact, we're event avoiders, or we're not particularly talented, we're unspecial, or we're poor instead of rich. Okay, if we can have confidence, despite the parts of ourselves that we ourselves assess as unfortunate in some way, okay? We don't have any particular success. We didn't win first prize. We didn't get into the greatest school, whatever it is. We didn't succeed in business. We don't have a whole huge friendship network, whatever it is. We've been rejected. We've been rejected in dating. We've been rejected in friendship. We've been rejected for job applications and for school applications. Even though all of that has happened, we still feel confident. That would be amazing, because the feeling of confidence is, I'm okay with myself, with my special gifts that I bring to this planet, and with my weaknesses that nobody can be good at everything, right? And my flaws, whatever, I'm good. I'm not good at making small talk. I'm horrible at fashion. I don't know how to throw myself together, not great in school. I don't make fancy meals, right? Now, our children, they're not good at everything, but we want them to feel good about themselves. And one of the things we can do, as we said before, is keep our criticism down, because criticism, on top of having real flaws, is very weakening of personal confidence. But modeling self-acceptance is the technique I want to highlight here, because your lack of confidence is contagious. If you feel bad about yourself, because you're not the hostess with the mostest, you're not the home decorator, whatever it is you judge to be failing at, you're judging yourself harshly, and you convey that to your children, you are conveying a second message, which is that a person can't feel good unless they're good at everything. And that is the opposite of the one we want to mention. So if we say things out loud, like, let's say the whole family is invited to somebody's house, and you go to this person's house for lunch, and they have an exquisite table with the beautiful table setting and the amazing 24-course meal, and the centerpieces along the table for just an ordinary lunch. And, it's not somebody's big, wedding celebration. It's just lunch, right? And your kids go, Ma, like, that was so amazing. How you just make potatoes and, put it on the pan on the table. I mean, that was amazing. Why don't you do that? Now, if you can answer, yeah, I don't do fancy table settings. It's not my thing. Okay. And if people come to our house, they come for the excellent company, not for the elegant restaurant experience. They can get that somewhere else, like at the house we just went to. Okay. If you can say that with, yeah, I'm okay with not being good at that. I don't aspire to everything. I don't need to be brilliant and beautiful and talented in every way. If you can convey, I'm good with what I'm good at. I'm a nice person. People come because they like my conversation, and that's what I'm offering. And your children go like, oh, okay, I don't have to be good at everything. So this technique of helping children yes, we have to exude this confidence in the way we look, in the way we act, in what we can do and what we can't do. So we want to highlight for our children, not just modeling it in what we say about ourselves, but in the way we talk to them. So this is an example of this. Okay, so you're not great at school. The kid comes home and says, "Oh, I studied so hard and I only got a C plus on this. It never works for me." So you go like, okay, school isn't your big thing. We know that already. But you've got street smarts, honey, and you're going to be very successful because you can figure things out. Okay, so, school isn't for everybody. If your kid is already 15 years old when he's saying that, surely you and he have both figured out that school isn't really for him. That kind of smarts is not where he shines, like learning auditorily and giving it back. But this is a kid who can fix every item in your house, or who makes people feel great or whatever. And you're not acting like this one thing that he can't do, which is a big thing, school, okay, is going to ruin his life. He should feel inadequate and terrible because he's deficient in academic learning, okay? You don't ever want any kid to feel that, which is hard because they're in school for 20 years, okay? Like, you got an uphill battle there. But it's very, very important for you to remember all the different kinds of intelligences. This is something I wrote about many years ago in a book that's probably, I don't think it's available, I'm not sure. It was called Teen Esteem, and it was for teenagers to read themselves. And a big section of the book was about all the different ways of being smart, so that we never get hung up on one. We can be smart with our hands. We can make beautiful hairstyles, or we can make beautiful cakes, or whatever it is, and we can succeed in life with the way that we are smart. So we want children to feel confidence in their smartness. If a child is failing something, failed to get into the school or the program or the play or the whatever it is that the child wanted so much, when we acknowledge feelings, which is another technique, without fanfare, we're going to increase confidence. What I mean without fanfare, without acting as if the child's going to die from this, because we fail. We try, we fail. The good part is we tried. And we want the child to continue to be able to face risk and face failure with confidence. I know we're going very quickly over these. That's why. I'm sorry to keep saying this, but I wanted to give you a little taste of what we're going to unravel over the next 8 weeks. Okay, so this way of talking to the child. Oh, honey, that's so disappointing. I know you worked really hard for it. Okay, and then get on and make dinner. Not, like if the kid. We don't want to act like somebody died because the child failed, because failure is a normal human experience for everybody who has the courage to try. So if we say, "Oh, honey, I know it's so disappointing. You really tried." And, that's the main thing. You had the courage to apply, to write that whole story you wrote, to do your best. And, if you have that kind of courage, you're going to succeed, in the big picture. So I know it's disappointing now. And onward and upward, okay? And that's your philosophy that you share with the kid and that you model yourself. Not like, okay, I tried something once, I failed, I'm never trying again. That's the end of that. It's like, okay, this is hard work for us. So we want to not go into trauma ourselves because our child had a failure experience. Because a failure experience is necessary on the way to success. Anybody who's going to be really successful has tried and failed in 1,000 ways. Right? You can read all the autobiographies of great people, and you'll see it's not like they woke up one morning, they were born great, they stayed great, and that's the whole story of their lives. That is not how it goes, right? Now, I'm going to do one last thing before we end here. I know we're running, well, we're not actually near the end. We have another hour, but we're going to divide up the hour with your questions. Okay, so I'm going to be able to answer your questions soon. But I want to give you one last confidence building strategy, which again, we're going to explore in much more detail. But this example happened just a few days ago with my own granddaughter. Okay, this little girl, 5 years old, is a great swimmer. However, when she was taking swimming lessons for the past 6 months, her mom, my daughter, tells me that the little one is screaming and crying the whole time because the teacher wants her to swim in the deep end, which this child is capable of. Now, a lack of confidence means that you can do something, but you don't believe you can. And so she now sometimes there's a lack of confidence because you know you can't do something. That's a different thing. We'll explore it later. But this is a lack of confidence that shouldn't really be there because the kid knows how to swim fine, but she's afraid she's going to drown in the deep end. So, so my daughter asked me to fix my granddaughter, so I said to my granddaughter, okay, honey, what are you afraid of in the deep end? And she says, I can't swim, I'm afraid I'm going to drown, So I said to her, okay, are you in the pool by yourself? She says, no. He says, is there an adult there who could save you? She says, yes. I said, oh, okay, I see. Now, this is cognitive, purely cognitive. There's an adult who could save her. If I sent her out now to swim, right after saying that, her body would still respond with the panic, the fear, and the deep ingrained insecurity of, I can't do this, okay? That little cognitive, yeah, somebody would save me. It's not enough because in the prefrontal cortex where that thought resides, it does not hit the limbic system and especially the amygdala, which is where the panic response is, the fight or flight thing that is causing this little girl to scream her head off when she's in the deep end, okay? Spending the whole time crying and screaming in the deep end. That's a panic response driven by the fight or flight center in the amygdala in the brain. And the thought that, yeah, somebody will save me is not going to penetrate. So actually, just put yes in the chat box. If you ever knew that there was no reason to be insecure, but you still felt insecure and a lack of confidence, just put yes if it ever happened to you. That you knew there was no rational reason for you to be terribly afraid, but you couldn't turn off the fear response. Did you ever have that? And while anybody's responding there, everybody's responding, I imagine, I call this like a brain glitch. It's like somewhere deep in the brain, there's a belief that I can't handle this. And that generates this panic response in the panic centers of the brain, and it overrides any logical thought of there is no problem. Jillian, did anybody respond to that?
Yes, we had an overwhelming amount of yeses.
This is the human experience, okay? This is the human experience. All right, so with this little girl, what I did is I used EFT, which some of you already know about, and many of you have probably studied it with me before. But when it comes to confidence building, oh my goodness, okay? That's all I'm going to say. EFT helped me so much with gaining confidence. Remember I told you I lacked confidence? I'm going to say that EFT was the turning point in my personal confidence journey. There were a number of things that I did that got rid of this horrible feeling that I lived with of lack of confidence. But EFT was one of the first and one of the most powerful. So with my granddaughter, we did this. And some of you will be familiar with these things I'm doing. I'm tapping on meridian pathways here. And some of you, maybe you never saw it before, so it looks a little weird, but it goes, I'm going to take my glasses off for this. It goes like this. We tap on the side of the hand and we go, I told her to say this. And we did the choices method from Dr. Patricia Carrington. It goes like this. Even though I'm afraid I'm going to drown in the deep end, I know that an adult will save me. And we do that 3 times. Even though I know I'm going to even though I'm afraid I'm going to drown in the deep end, I know an adult will save me. Even though I'm afraid I'm going to drown, I know an adult will save me. So this, I'm telling her to play Simon Says with me and tap like this. And so we're tapping on the 8 points now. And we went through the points like this, I might drown. I can't swim in the deep end. The water's too deep. I might drown. I might swallow the water. I'm afraid I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm going to drown. That's round 1. Round 2 goes like, I know nobody's going to let me drown. Nobody's going to let me drown. They're going to save me. There's people there. They're going to save me from drowning. They're going to take me out of the pool. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be fine. And the 3rd round alternates this. I'm going to drown. They're going to save me. I can't do it. Somebody will take me out of the pool. I can't swim the deep end. It'll be fine because somebody will help me. I'm going to die. I'm going to go home just fine. Okay? And that was what the 3 rounds looked like. And it was that fast. How long did that take us? Like 1 minute? Okay. And then she had her swimming lesson a few days later. And she was fine for the first time in the deep end. Now, her sister was watching this treatment, a sister a few years older, and her sister said, I want help too, of course. So what did she want help with? She felt unable to cope. They were going to be traveling soon, and she needed to have a COVID test for getting on the plane or whatever the thing is. And this is a kid who she's very sensitive to sensations, and she's had many COVID tests before, and they hurt. Okay, from her point of view, it hurts. And she was already worried days before the test. She's already feeling, it's going to be awful. I can't deal with it. Okay. And this is a lack of confidence in the ability to survive difficulty. So remember that confidence is a belief, of an embedded belief of I can't do it. I can't cope with it. And it generates the feelings of anxiety, panic, worry, fear, whatever. So this kid was already suffering and having trouble sleeping because, here's this upcoming COVID test. So for her, we tapped, even though it's going to hurt and I'm going to hate it, I know it'll be over fast and I'll survive. Okay, that was what the setup was. And then we went down on the first round. I don't like it. It feels bad. I hate it. I don't want it. I don't like it. I hate the way it feels. It hurts. It hurts. Okay, that was the first round. The second round was, it'll be over fast and then I'll get on with life. I'll be okay. I'll survive. It'll be over quickly. It's nothing. It'll be, then we'll get on the plane, and then it'll be really good. Okay. And then the third round alternated that. So I just wanted to show you that, because then she, a few days later, got the COVID test, and then she got on the plane and she was fine. So what the tapping does is it goes deep into the brain where those deep thoughts, feelings, embedded patterns and circuits are for the lack of confidence, and it actually reorganizes them. It is not a purely cognitive technique where we just straightened out our thoughts, because if we would have said those things without the tapping, there'd be no reaching the amygdala. So, and therefore there would be no resolution of the lack of confidence, okay? So we're gonna look at one of the sections in the course. We'll be examining many ways that we can use techniques like that to actually rewire our insecure brain and create confidence whenever we need it on demand. And it's a really powerful technique for children and for us. So, Jillian, why don't we take some questions at this point and see what's on people's minds? There's more we can say, but I want to hear what you're thinking and wondering about.
Sure, we have some great questions, and I want to get to as many as possible. I also want to tell everybody about
what? Jillian, you disappeared. Are you there? I'm confident that this will be worked out, but I can't hear a thing right now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh,
See,
sorry.
Confidence pays off.
I was talking and okay,
yeah,
nobody can hear me. Yes, we have some really great questions. And I have a question here about the course, obviously, and some more details about that, which I will get to. So let me tell you a little bit about the course so that we can get you signed up and registered. And then I will absolutely take more questions as well. And like I said, we had some great questions come in already, and I open up the floor to as many questions as you'd like to ask. So let me tell you a little bit more about the course. As Chana mentioned, we will be now offering a full course on helping cultivate confidence with your children. And obviously you too will learn how to cultivate confidence within yourself throughout the program. So we are going to look at the next week. We're actually going to be starting next week already. Building the roots of confidence, strategies for increasing security, optimism, and courage in the face of adversity and challenge. Followed by facing fears, frustrations, and failure, strategies for persevering through discouragement and struggle. Then in session 3, how hard to push. Pushing, controlling, and imposing versus supporting, encouraging, allowing, and trusting. And I think just based on some of the questions that were coming in, I think that's going to be a really important course for a lot of people, because it's hard, as Sarhana again was mentioning, that technique of kind of stepping back and just letting things happen. It's really hard for a parent. So we'll get more into how to balance, the pushing and controlling versus supporting and encouraging. In session 4, negotiating social challenges, handling embarrassment, shame, rejection, and humiliation. Then we'll go into rising from grief, trauma, neglect, and abuse, overcoming the effects of loss, mistreatment, bullying, and victimization. And in session 6, parental insecurity, parental pain and anxiety in the face of children's struggles. Followed by biological support using Bach flower remedies and EFT to help strengthen your child's personal confidence. And finally, a last session, a full hour Q&A to gain solutions to common questions through a Q&A and implementation session. And I know that often is also one of the most important classes that we offer, because people love to get their personal questions answered, which is why we're really here to help you through your personal journey. So each class is live and interactive, allowing you to get your biggest questions answered and stay completely anonymous if you choose. They will all take place on Thursdays at 12 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Israel time. And as I mentioned, our first class starts next week, Thursday, January 27th. But don't worry if you can't attend a live class. A recording will always be available to you in your own personal membership area. It's delivered every Sunday after the live class takes place, and those are there for a lifetime for you to listen to or download at your convenience. Plus, in addition, excuse me, to the 8 weeks of full live classes, you'll also get the bonus course on sibling relationships. In this 9-part series, you'll discover how to bring peace to your home by gaining the skills to solve sibling rivalry successfully at any age and any stage. You'll also get a full series on mindful marriage. In this 4-part series, learn how to develop a healthier, happier, more fulfilling relationship by creating a clear path towards conflict resolution and true connection by focusing on your marriage and effectively communicating. And, we all know how important it is to really be on the same page as our spouse as well, especially during parenting situations. I think a lot of conflict comes up because there are differences in opinion on how to parent and how to handle situations. So this is a great bonus for that. And then the full 6-part series on EFT, discover how to overcome life's challenges by becoming proficient at the emotional freedom technique. And as you saw, Sarhana will be doing one class during the actual program for the live classes, but then we're also including the full EFT series as a bonus as well. So you can see that Sarhana will be walking you through various aspects of parenting, emotional well-being, and marriage to ensure that you and your family are set to thrive. You'll have one-on-one support throughout this program, as I mentioned, and we'll have the unique opportunity to get your personal questions answered that you haven't been able to get answered previously. But most importantly, by investing in yourself and your family right now, you'll discover how to create positive parenting habits that help increase your child's self-esteem and confidence without increasing their anxiety and fear of making mistakes. You'll finally be able to equip your child with the skills he needs to deal with failing, peer pressure, rejection, and making good choices, so every challenge doesn't seem insurmountable. Nurture, protect, and foster confidence in your child by limiting criticism and anger and being a source of acknowledgement, validation, positive feedback, warmth, and love. And finally, give your child the space he needs to problem solve, build relationships, and create masterpieces so he can achieve success on his own and build confidence through his experiences. An opportunity like this rarely comes along, but we listen to all of our members' requests, and together with a one-of-a-kind mentor, Sarhana, we are offering the guidance you need and deserve for a highly reduced rate. So you can become a member today and get the full package of 8 classes for just $297, or you can become a platinum member and get the full 8-week series, plus the bonus on sibling rivalry, the bonus for mindful marriage, and the bonus on EFT, the formula for health and happiness, for only $397. And as I mentioned today, because you attended, you get that extra $100 off. So for the next 24 hours, you can become a basic member for $297 or a platinum member for only $397. I'm going to go ahead and share the link with you right in the chat box so that you can actually copy and paste it out into a new browser, but still stick with us so that you can hear, you can hear the answers to all of the questions that are coming. But before I do that, I do want to go ahead and just announce one more exciting surprise. A few months ago, one of our members sent us an email with a fabulous request. She said she loves coming to all of our introductory classes and wishes she could buy every single one of them. But with financial restraints, she really can't. So she asked us to hold a raffle and for us to pick one lucky buyer to get their spot for free. So we've done that in the past, and we're going to go ahead and do it again today. So everyone who signs up right now while we are on the line for the next 40 minutes or so will also automatically get entered into our big raffle, and you will get the chance to win your spot for free. So go ahead to www.jewishworkshops.com/confident, and I'm putting that right in your chat box. And you can choose to become a basic member or a platinum member right now. And once you choose, you'll go ahead and register and then automatically be entered into the raffle. If you are on the phone, I'm going to just say that one more time because I know you can't see the screen. It's www.jewishworkshops.com/confident. And all I ask is that when you register, please come on back to the chat box and just let me know. Write your name and the words "I'm in" so that I can welcome you to our community. And if you're having any questions or problems or need help registering, please come on back and just put your name and your telephone number. We're happy to give you a call and help you register over the phone. But I certainly don't want you to miss a chance to not only join the program, but also to get put into the raffle. So once you're in, come on back and let me know, and I would be happy to welcome you. So I am going to put that up on the screen as well. It's www.jewishworkshops.com/confident. And I am going to take some questions here. But before I do, I just want to go ahead and welcome our brand new members. That was really fast. Welcome to Kelly, and welcome to Anna. It's so great to have both of you. Please just let me know when you're in, and I would be happy to welcome you as well. Okay. Let's get to some questions. Chana, there were some that came in earlier, so just give me 1 second while I run through here and try to find all of these questions. Here we go. Does confidence building also help with kids with anxiety, or is that deeper?
So that is a really interesting question, because confidence, let's say lack of confidence, and its variations, insecurity, or negative anticipation, maybe even negativity, they are related to anxiety. The way I've tried to understand it myself is that the confidence part is more a belief. That's what I said before, that it's cognitive. And the anxiety part is a feeling of fear or panic or worry. So the anxiety is in the body, and you can feel anxious when you lack confidence. You can also feel anxious when you have a phobia. Let's say you have a spider phobia, and you feel anxious and panicky when you see a spider, but that's not the same as lacking confidence. Lacking confidence is a particular type of anxiety, we might say, which has to do with your belief about your ability to succeed or to cope with a challenge. And again, it's related to resilience, okay, because it has to do with your belief that you can try again, that it's okay to fail, that it's okay to lose, not win, etc., that it's okay to have flaws. So you see, the whole thing with confidence is there's just much more of a mental aspect, whereas with anxiety, there's a physical consequence. Nobody's going to say, I feel anxious just because of what they think, okay? It has to be a physical sensation. Whereas I lack confidence, I'm not going to try, doesn't actually necessarily provoke that physical sensation unless you're forced to try. So some people say at the beginning, public speaking, they lacked confidence to stand in front of a crowd and say something, or that might even be a small crowd, or it might even be one-on-one in a interpersonal situation. I lack confidence. So if they're forced to do it, they're going to start to feel anxious possibly. But you can lack confidence without feeling the anxiety in your body as long as you don't do it. But avoidance is very bad for us. We don't want to get in a position where our lack of confidence causes us to avoid social or academic or career opportunities or whatever. So they're related, but not the same, is my bottom line.
Thank you so much. How do you recommend handling power struggles over clothing, after school activities, homework? What would the approach be?
Sign up for the dynamic discipline course, because that's a very big question with a huge answer. But and it depends why the power struggle is happening. Is this a defiant child? Is it a child who's coming from an anxious place? Because we need a different kind of response. Whether why has the child learned or practiced uncooperative behavior for a long time? There's a lot of different interventions, and I'd like to be able to answer it, but my shorter answer would be start with reading my little book called Better Behavior Now, which really would address each one of those things, and then move on. If you think that there's other components besides the behavior, like underlying anxiety and stuff, would have to be addressed. And Jewish Workshops has all these sections that we've done before, how to help your anxious child and stuff. We've had courses on that too. So just write to Jewish Workshops, and if you need more, just say, what has Sarah Chana produced already? Because we have covered this in a lot of ways, but it's not a simple answer, unfortunately.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I just want to go ahead and welcome our newest members. Welcome, Esty. Welcome, Elaine. And welcome, Devora. Wonderful to have all of you. Please come on back and let me know when you're in. Just put your name in the words "I'm in." And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to put your name and your telephone number so that we can help you register over the phone or answer any questions you may have. I'm sorry, I did forget to mention, because I see here somebody's asking, there are payment plan options available to make it more accessible financially. So when you go to www.jewishworkshops.com/confident and you click on register now, you will get to a page where you'll be able to register, and it'll show you the payment plan options that are there. Of course, if you still have further questions about that, feel free to put your name and phone number in, and we'll give you a call. Let me see where the questions. My 11-year-old daughter is emotionally immature. She has a hard time talking about her feelings and hard topics if she thinks she will get in trouble or something. She says, I don't know, a lot when she thinks her voice doesn't matter. What can we do to help her gain her confidence?
So some children, like I said, the parents could be really soft-spoken and gentle and kind, and the child is still afraid of getting in trouble or disappointing the parent, saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing. That's just their nature, right? I actually would treat that kid with the Bach flower remedies, which is something we're going to explore a little bit in the class, because it's such an inborn tendency that can be straightened out. The EFT might be good for that as well. But if it's because the parent does tend to get a little bit loud and we don't realize what we look like when we're disappointed, because like I said before, we don't have to call the child names to convey there's something wrong with you. We can just give a look, or a look that says, why would you do that? Or how could you do that? Or that's not what you're supposed to do. But the look on our face is very important to the child. So they only want to see our smile. We want to be very, very gentle when it does come to correcting a child. And so let's say the child ventures forth and gives the wrong answer. Like if you said to the kid, did you remember to tell the cleaning lady the instructions I gave you? And the kid forgot. So now she's afraid to admit that she did something wrong. She had a job to do and she forgot. So are you going to be mad? Well, probably you're not going to be happy. It's like, you're not going to say like, well, good for you for forgetting. But whatever you do say, please keep in mind that I think you forgot something once as well. And what kind of thing would have helped you, deal with that if you forgot something pretty important? Did you ever forget anything? No. So we forget all the time. And so when we're dealing with the child, we have to really overcome our natural tendencies to just go like, what? I told you needed to tell her, now blah blah disaster is going to happen. We got to take all those natural things out of our repertoire, because we think we're not doing anything, but we're actually having quite an impact, especially on the more sensitive child, but on every child. So you forgot? Oops. Okay, let's see what we could do to repair that. I think I have her number. I'm going to see if I can track her down. Don't worry, we'll straighten it out. Meaning, no problem for being human. No problem that's, the world didn't just collide with another planet. This is not the end of things. This is just a problem to be solved, and we will solve it. So the more we greet wrong answers, if you will, that way, the less afraid the child is of saying, oops, I forgot. Okay. So, and again, a lot of us are simply unaware of our overly intense responses and dramatic responses. I'm not blaming us parents. Okay. Like by the time our kids are, 40, we'll have it figured out. So no problem. It takes quite a while for us to grow up. Okay.
Thank you. Welcome, Sarah, and welcome, Ariella. Welcome, Jessica, and welcome, Victoria. I'm so excited to have all of you as part of our new community. Please, again, just let me know when you are registered so I can welcome you as well. And the questions are great that are coming in. So please feel free to put your questions in too while we still have some time left here. Sarhana, the question that just came in. I'm sorry I couldn't figure out how to turn the things I said into a question. So maybe we can also just go over that one more time. But she has another question here. I guess I just want to know the best way to parent my 5-year-old son who has been misbehaving very badly and I don't know how to fix it, quote unquote. Sometimes I do lose my cool and I will raise my voice or say bad things. Is there anything else I can do to help change his and my behavior? Is this him being a 5-year-old? Am I making his behavior worse by trying to make it stop?
Well, keep in mind that that's what we usually do. We make their behavior worse by trying to make it stop. I mean, it's a natural parenting thing. And we're trying to be unnatural now by, the truth is that when we reprimand a child, we are automatically attending to a negative behavior, and by attending to it, we're wiring it into that circuit for that behavior into his brain. Now, the whole idea of circuitry is covered in the dynamic discipline course and in the little book, Better Behavior Now, which is so critical for parents to understand, because we want to save all of our attention, that is our loud voice, our big face, our close physical presence. We want to save it for when the child is doing what we want that child to be doing. So that's part of it. And then we have to get that child to do it, which means we have to have a teaching protocol. We have to know what we want the child to do rather than what the child is not doing. So instead of getting him to stop doing something, we actually want the child to start doing something. And we call that the target behavior. And we want to have our eye on that target behavior. Show the child what that target behavior is. Have the child practice that target behavior. Add wires to the circuit for the new target behavior by reinforcing, clapping, rewarding, talking about it, emoting over it, and quickly build it. So when the child is doing something wrong, that's not the important thing. The important thing is, what did you want that child to do instead? And now train the kid to do it. I've given you the sort of 30-second summary of a very long course and a very short book, but that's what you really need to look at. Tone all your responses down if the child is doing something wrong, because he'll be doing more things wrong more often if you respond with criticism, complaint, punishments, threats of punishments, all the normal parenting techniques that we were raised with and that are instinctive brain actually wants to do. So I'm not blaming any of us for doing it, but we have to stop doing it if we want our child's behavior to improve.
Thank you so much. We've had some more questions come in. How can we make a child feel confident about something that someone else, example, like a teacher, a friend, a sibling, has already made them feel unconfident about?
It's rough. It's rough being a person. It's rough living in the world of people. It's rough being surrounded by unemotionally intelligent human beings. Okay, I'm going to start that way. We are all vulnerable to being hurt, to being rejected, to being negatively assessed, to being judged poorly, or judged unfairly, judged in general. And when it comes to adults doing this to kids, it happens with every child, has been picked on, teased, bullied, handled poorly by some counselor, by some teacher, sometimes by us. So this is life. Okay, now let's say it was the teacher who said to the kid, "What's wrong with you?" It's like, let's say it wasn't you, it was the kid, it was the teacher, right? When the child threw an eraser at somebody and the teacher lost it and said, like, whatever the teacher said, it's like, there's something wrong with you. You don't know how to behave properly. You need to, whatever lecture or hissy fit this parent had, the teacher had. And you know that this child is behaviorally challenged by birth, has the genes that make him very reactive, have trouble with emotional behavioral regulation, that he gets very upset quickly, and then he responds impulsively with poor judgment. You know all about it. You've been to the doctors and the specialists, and you're treating him and you're intervening, and he has his one-on-one therapy, but he's still doing this in school. And you're so careful at home. So then he comes crying home, the teacher said I was a loser, whatever, and he's giving his own interpretation, which is pretty close to what the teacher's message conveyed, not that the teacher used those exact words. And you're going to have to say to the kid something like, well, I think it sounds like your teacher was frustrated, or better still, ask the question, right? What do you think made the teacher say that? And the kid will say, well, because I threw the eraser. You say, like, well, no, because you could have thrown the eraser and the teacher might have said something else. Like another teacher might have said something different. What would, your teacher, Mrs. So-and-so, have said had you thrown the eraser? Well, she would have said blah, blah, right? Because she's different. So how come this teacher yelled at you like that? So if you can help your kid, it depends on how old your kid is, come to understand that the teacher has emotional regulation problems just like he does, and that it's a challenge for her, that she got upset maybe because she got scared when that eraser went flying and that she didn't think about what she was saying, and that, yes, that was painful for him. And again, we want to name our child's pain without dying 1,000 deaths ourselves, because we are made like ships. Ships are built to handle the rough waves of the water. It's not like when a rough wave comes through, the ship falls apart, or the airliner in the sky when there's turbulence. It's not like, there's airwaves, so boop, the plane explodes. That's not it. The plane and the ship are made to handle the rough spots and survive it. And we are too. We're not going to fall apart just because somebody hurt our feelings today. And you need confidence that your child can survive the insult here, trying to understand a little bit about where this person was coming from. And yes, it did hurt. And the less afraid you are of saying that hurt, okay, if you have the confidence to help your child through it by saying, yeah, that hurts. Nobody likes to hear something like that. That was rough for you today, So if you can say that to the child, and then be normal, like, okay, honey, so you want meatballs for dinner, or whatever, right? So just carry right on with your tasks. Like, you don't expect the child to die over this, because he's not going to, right? It's just the rough journey of being a human being.
Thank you so much. I do want to go ahead and just welcome David, welcome Julie, and welcome Darren. Wonderful to have all of you as well. We are running out of time here, so if you are in, please go ahead and just let me know. If you have any questions, please come back and put your name and your telephone number in the chat box so that we can help you register over the phone and answer any questions you might still have. I want to get to a few more questions here before we have to close up for the day. Sarkhana, I have seen a number of questions come in, so I'm kind of going to lump them all together. But the gist of it is, what do we do when spouses are not on the same page with parenting? And obviously this not only affects our children's confidence, but oftentimes it affects the spouse's confidence, especially if one spouse is degrading the other in front of the children. And I think it's kind of, I've seen through this several questions that have come in that we're trying to touch on all of those points. But mainly, what do we do if we're not on the same page?
We're not likely to always be on the same page as our spouse. So this is God's plan, right? That there'll be two different types of people, usually a man and a woman, with two different backgrounds and two different minds, two different brains, two different ways of thinking, and their whole histories make them different and valuable to the children. So having the confidence, first of all, that the two-parent model is actually good for the kids, and that your partner's a different way, unless it's actually abusive, okay, involving name-calling, insulting, physical abuse, that has to be fixed, right? But if your partner's way is just different, not what you would do, or not what I would advise to do, don't be so sure that it's harmful for your child, first of all. Like, have the confidence that your child is needing that parent's approach as well. That's one thing, like just relax a little bit into it. It's kind of related to the fear that we have about our children altogether, or the desire we have to control everything and everyone in our lives, that they should do it our way. Listen, even my way, much as I like it, isn't everybody's way, right? And so we want to grant your partner the space to parent his or her own kids, okay? Because they have that right too. What you can do is, let's say your child is doing something, and the parent, let's say your child is afraid to sleep in her own bed at night, just for example, and your approach would be to name the child's feelings and to provide a nightlight and a little bit of support, to lie down with the kid, to give her some strategies. Okay, you're all nice and you're all informed about what you would do. And you start off the night that way, but she wakes up a little bit later and she wants to come into your room. And your partner comes in and says, don't be a baby, okay? The only person who sleeps in our room is the baby. You're not a baby. You're already 4 years old. You sleep in your own bed. And you're horrified, okay? Because your spouse is calling this child a baby, and really this child is insecure. She might be a bit on the anxious side. She does lack the confidence to be safe and secure in her own bed, and you want to help her, and he's insulting her. Let's just say that example, okay, which I've heard 20 million times over the course of my 40 years of counseling people. It's a pretty common scenario. So if you want to help your spouse, I would support your spouse's intention and give a little help and guidance, perhaps, about the baby part, because that's name calling, which is not an advisable technique. But if you freak out and go, don't call her baby, like, you're going to ruin her. She's going to be like, she's going to hate you. She's going to have so many problems in life. She's going to be in therapy next year. Like, calm down and see the good part, because your spouse is trying to help your child stay in her own bed. And that is the correct part that even you would agree with. So if you say, like, honey, I'm so glad that you're helping her to stay in her own bed. And then maybe we could use the question technique on him too. Is there a way, though, you think you could inspire her to be brave, let's say, and stay in her own bed? Like, could you call her something else? Like, because I think when she thinks of herself as a baby, then she thinks like she needs her mommy and daddy. Like, what else could you say to her that might make her feel more courageous to stay in her own bed? Do you have any ideas? Because I love that you're encouraging her to be there. So you have to be so smart in marriage and in parenting. It's too hard for us on most days, but if you can get your act together, then I would go that way.
Great. Thank you so much. Let me just go ahead and welcome Gail, welcome Leah, welcome Malky. So excited to see people continuing to sign up. Like I said, we are running out of time here, but Sarkhan, I do want you to, with the few minutes that we have left, and thank God the hundreds of people still here on the line with us, if you could leave us with some closing words and comments. Obviously we've still got people who are kind of on the fence here, and we'd just love to hear from you.
Well, there's so much to being a parent, to being a human being. And every time we meet and we talk, I myself really enjoy the opportunity to explore the little details. There's no way that, a class or a book or whatever solves the whole problem for us. And as we come together and keep learning and expanding our consciousness together, I think we're just kind of putting that energy not only into our own home and into our own being, but into the world at large. And it's a huge undertaking for us. But I think personally, to me, it's the only one that matters. It's the whole journey of why we're here. And, the tasks that we have in life of cleaning our rooms and eating and getting our jobs and paying for our houses, whatever, that's what we need to do in order to survive. But who we are, this is the journey of the soul. And I feel like when we work on this together in the classes that we do here at Jewish Workshops and the ongoing exploration, this is us making life worthwhile. I always think in terms of like, what are we accomplishing? It's not just, that we want our children to be less anxious or more calm. It's the whole development. It's everything. So I don't know. I mean, that's just how I look at it. And I certainly love, unfolding all of that with all of you and doing it together. And I hope that those things are important to you as well, because it's not the bottom line, like, how can we have an easier day? It's the biggest picture ever.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you for spending your time with us today. Thank you to everyone here for spending your time with us. We know that you could have been a million other places, but we really appreciate when you come and join us. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave your phone number and your name in the chat box. I'm going to leave the webinar open for just a few more minutes. You won't hear us and see us anymore, but you will have a chance to get your name in there in case you still need some help. Otherwise, once we close up, we won't be able to reach you. So put your name and phone number in if you still have questions. And I look forward to joining everyone, as many as possible, next week for our very first class. Thank you so much. If you still have questions once the webinar is closed, you can always reach out to us at jewishworkshops@jewishworkshops.com. And I wish everyone a wonderful day. Thank you so much, Sarkana.
Thank you. It was fun. Thank you.
Bye.